Greetings, students, and welcome to Week 9. In this lecture, we explore social media search. Our questions are how might we search social media and why should we bother? How might we crowdsource search? And what role does social media play in our search toolkits? I believe that search is social, and I also believe that social media tools are search tools. Search and social don't have to live in separate silos. Why should we bother searching in social media? Well, social media is a rich source of news and current awareness. The information we discover there includes conversations from communities of practice and niche interest groups. Users can retrieve detailed and up-to-date information from a wide range of social media sites simultaneously. We benefit from the wisdom of the crowd. We get personalized information. And in many cases, the information we discover may be or may lead to a primary source. The types of content we find on social media include real-time information and news, information about niche products and services, public opinions, gossip, rumors, local news, community-related events and activities, business and marketing information, user-generated information, images and videos, community sharing sources and sites, and also open access and open educational resources. Like everything else we discover, it should be evaluated, it should be interrogated. All of these tools that you probably use every day can also be used as search tools. There are some big search services that search across social media communities. These are switching and growing and changing all the time. Sometimes they die. So I'm giving you some examples for right now, but we may be needing to edit this very shortly. So BoardReader is one of them. Google's social search, which is you can actually search within Google using hashtags and @signs, but this is a tool that makes use of Google for social search. There's a tool called Social Searcher. And then we can find some major sources of people, hashtags and @signs or handles that we can search. So an example of this has been around for a very long time. It's called Twiplomacy. It's the home of digital diplomacy news, intelligence, trends, and analysis. It's been around since 2012. And on this, you can find ways to search world organizations, associations, and also world leaders. So imagine finding a quote or a release, a press release for a speech from a world leader. You're following them because they're one of your interests, and you get to that content very often before you see it on broadcast news or read it in print news. You can search Twitter. In fact, Twitter, or X now, has an advanced search screen with multiple filters. This also allows you to search emerging news. Interestingly, when I was down in CNN a few years back, what I saw down on the floor, and I wasn't able to take any pictures, was all the reporters were using a tool called TweetDeck, and I'm not sure that's still around, but it is for they had various hashtags across the screen, and the feeds were in these vertical columns, and the reporters were using Twitter to continually keep up to date with the hashtags that they generally followed. So Twitter can be a really important source of news. It just happens to be the official Twitter feed for the Prime Minister of Israel. Notice that you can get his tweets or their tweets, their replies, and the media that they're sharing. And then you get suggestions for what else you might like. And you might also find Middle Eastern leaders in that as well. Among the things that you can do is see who the people you want to follow are following and who follows them. In this case, who the prime minister might be following might be more interesting than the over 1 million people who are following them. And then you can see on that right screenshot, I might also want to follow the IDF or the Israel Foreign Ministry and or the embassies in the US. And so this gives me additional leads of who I might follow if I'm researching Israel and the Middle East. People also compile Twitter lists that you can follow. Here are just some examples, and the first one is a Twitter list on the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And basically, these are curated lists that people put together because they have a strong research interest, and then you can follow them and make use of their efforts. LinkedIn is a great place to search. If you have a premium version, you can search in an advanced way. But very often people use LinkedIn to find speakers, seeing if they're local and seeing what their specialties are in terms of being researchers or consultants. How do you find hashtags to search? You can look through Twitter, you can look through TikTok, you can look through Instagram to find hashtags. But there are also a couple of services. Many of them have ads, but I searched for library hashtags on Instagram and noticed that there are a whole bunch of them. They're the readers of Instagram, the libraries of Instagram, Bookstagram. All of these are popular. You need to figure out which ones work best for you. Similarly, there's one called Best Hashtags. If you're new to a field, this is probably a decent way to get started. And then as you go into Twitter and you see discoveries of people who seem to be tweeting reliably important stuff, you might want to follow them, seeing what hashtags they use, and then picking up some other ones to search. Hashtags are search tools. I use Flickr to find images, not just images by individuals, but images by organizations. Flickr allows you to search by orientation of the image, by size, by date published, by content, whether it's a video or an image. You can search the tags people are using. Generally, highly respected photographers are more likely or news people are more likely to load photographs with tags than the casual Flickr user. And then you can also search by license, whether they're in public domain created by the government, whether they have a Creative Commons license attached to them. And also it's fun to search by color. This is an example of how Flickr is not just for the individual. The Library of Congress has a vast amount of photographs on Flickr. In fact, it calls its Flickr collections the Flickr Commons, the Smithsonian as well. And on the right side, you'll see a variety of associations and organizations that also store content on Flickr. Pinterest is maybe out of favor these days, but it's a great source of visual content. I use it to find finger plays. I know a lot of children's librarians use this for storytelling lists or story themes, also for library displays and bulletin boards. I also use it to find anchor charts for teaching. YouTube is also a search tool. In addition to individuals posting videos, you have National Geographic, the White House, TED Ed, and TED, of course, the History Channel, and of course, Hank and John Green's The Crash Course, which I absolutely love for instruction. You can search videos by type, by upload date, by duration, by their features, and by relevance. Let's shift gears for a little bit and talk about crowdsourcing. People learn together. As I said, search is social and knowledge building is also social. And so there are a number of crowdsourcing projects out there that may be useful for you as a librarian in terms of helping patrons, clients, students find information. Crowdsourcing is defined as the process of getting work or funding, usually online, from a crowd of people. The word, of course, is a combination of the words crowd and outsourcing. The idea is to take work and outsource it to a crowd of workers. And very often this is altruistic work. In this case, maybe it's altruistic, maybe not, but Reddit is a very well known and one of the older social media platforms in which people share and often solve problems. Here, if you're not familiar with Reddit, here's a very brief video.
Think of Reddit like a foreign country. You don't speak the language, the customs are odd, and you probably don't know what's going on. But spend some quality time with the front page of the internet, and you'll find it's an essential resource, a self-regulating marketplace of ideas. Simply put, Reddit is a message board where users submit links. Items of value are upvoted, and those deemed unworthy are downvoted. The number of upvotes minus the number of downvotes determines a post's score, with the most upvoted content eventually making its way to the coveted front page. Content on the front page has already been vetted, voted, and discussed by thousands of other Redditors. These are things that'll make you laugh, think, and motivate you to dig a little deeper. Every link posted to Reddit goes into a subreddit related to that subject. Subreddits are more niche communities that you can subscribe to, and there are subreddits for almost anything. When viewing a subreddit, you may notice that posts with the highest score do not always rank to the top. This is due to Reddit's time decay algorithm, which, to put it simply, makes it easier for newer posts to rise. However, you can sort content based on newest, top scoring, and most controversial. A subreddit isn't just a place to dump links, it's a thriving community unto itself with its own customs, lingo, and moderators. Comment system on Reddit is arguably the most important and often most entertaining part of the site. The upvote downvote system used for posts are also used for comments, so in theory, the most valuable discussion will always make its way to the top. Reddit karma is an accumulation of goodwill you receive when other users upvote your posts or comments. It doesn't give you any overt influence, and it can't be cashed in for fabulous prizes, but a healthy amount of karma on your profile alerts other users that you add value to the community.
So I use Reddit in a few different ways. I'm a fan of a lot of really bad television, like those Real Housewives of New York City, and also Married at First Sight and other such things. And I can find threads there. But another thing I use it for is when I have a technical issue, I look for forums and I look for people who have solved problems. In fact, even outside of Reddit, using the word forum as a search term will get you into a lot of social media sites where people have solved the latest iPhone problem or hacked something that you may need to hack. Crowdsourcing is popular with a number of government associations and organizations. For instance, the Library of Congress needs help. There is so much content there that has not yet been transcribed or analyzed. And wouldn't it be great if we could help all of that stuff find its way online to be discovered? And so the Library of Congress puts out calls for virtual volunteers, and you can either transcribe documents or videos that haven't yet been transcribed, or you can review to see if a transcriber or an editor who came before you has done an accurate job. Similarly, the Smithsonian seeks digital volunteers in its transcription center, and you can go through a long list of projects that are currently in need of help. Effort has been going on since 2013, and you too can become a volunteer. In fact, the whole government, across the U.S. government, there are opportunities to contribute and meet challenges. You can meet challenges in any of the areas on the right there: software, creative ideas, business plans, etc. And you can volunteer to help out in any of the departments that are listed in the bottom left. One of my favorite crowdsourced projects is the Encyclopedia of Life. There are images around the world of flora and fauna, and you can contribute to this. It's based on a taxonomy. The mission, it says, is to increase awareness and understanding of living nature through an encyclopedia of life that gathers, generates, and shares knowledge in an open, freely accessible, and trusted digital resource. Patients around the world are part of the Patients Like Me project. Of course, medical information should be sought by doctors, but sometimes the patient experience can be really helpful and not shared in the type of medical information that you often receive and handouts from a medical office. And if you want to share your experience with other patients, this source might be something that you might want to take a look at. Of course, evaluating the content and understanding that not all of it is coming from experts. On another note, you can contribute to these maker types of crowdsourced projects. Instructable invites makers of all sorts, chefs, yarn crafters, mechanical makers, all over to share their projects and give you step-by-step directions. And of course, you don't have to feel alone in this world. One of the benefits of crowdsourcing and one of the parts of it is forming social media networks in the form of personal learning networks. We've talked about that in other courses, of course, and librarians sometimes are alone. Sometimes we use social media to get interlibrary loan and share with each other. Sometimes we use it to support each other. Sometimes there's a network of catalogers who use social media to solve a cataloging problem. You need to figure out what the hashtags are in order to reach people who share your interests or maybe don't share your interests, but have specialties that are not ones that you own. And so as a professional, use your personal learning network. Remember, the more diverse your network is, the more robust it likely is, because you can connect with others in a way that in a way that allows you, again, to connect dots that you don't see in your daily life. In fact, I'd like to continue this hashtag project. 530 in the past has added hashtags to our list of MI or MLIS hashtags that might be useful to you in the future. So take a look at this, and if you have any to add, please feel free to just hop in there and add them. One of the kind of more controversial hashtags that is used in the library or in the researcher world is ICANN-has PDF. There are multiple deviations of that, but this allows individuals, very often in developing nations or people just without access to academic libraries, to ask people to send them PDFs that they may not have rightful ownership to. We'll look more at academic search and the market for materials that people don't have legitimate access to in an upcoming module. But I did want you to know about this hashtag. I know it's possible some of your academic patrons or students are using ICANN-has PDF or any of those variations. And now let's shift gears yet another way. We're going to look for a very brief time at the notion of social catalog. Is your catalog an inventory, or is it a community space? And we'll meet a scholar this week who has thought about your website or your catalog as a real hub. And you'll see that some of the catalog software is inviting participation on the part of community members. Taruli and Spiteri see the catalog of the future as a social space or an online community that draws together elements of trust, interaction, contribution, discoverability, personalization, customization, intuitiveness, belonging, and immediate access to information. In all, a social catalog creates a level of experience that has been, up till now, only found in the physical library. I kind of like thinking about what it might be, especially because so many of our patrons we really don't meet in person anymore. They say it's a time that is very exciting for catalogs. They say that we should perhaps stop thinking about a MARC record as sacred. Perhaps we can play around with it a little bit. Perhaps we can take lessons from the people who innovated with Goodreads and Amazon and Internet Movie Database. What can we learn from those social spaces? I'll let you listen a little bit to our visit with Louise and see what you think about it, see what the problems are. And I'll look forward to reading your reactions to the social catalog in our thread this week. And so to sum up, let's think beyond the box or outside of the box and think about how social media, when we need it, can really be a powerful tool for search, and how communities or crowdsourcing may also help us in our quest for information at certain points in time. Think about the various different needs your patrons have and when a slightly different tool may best meet their needs.